And this master's covers 3 primary areas: innovation, communication, and entrepreneurship. Next slide. It's the masters will kick off this year. So this is the first year that we have run this masters. It will kick off on the 28th of September. The cost for home and overseas students is shown here. In this first year, we will have quite a small cohort of just 24 students. And we hope to recruit 14 students from the UK and 10 international students. There are a variety of scholarships that you can apply for if you would like support for this master's. We have one that is very specific for this master's and can be found at the bottom of the sort of details of the course pages online. And that scholarship, it's covering £10,000 towards either fees or living expenses. And then there are various other scholarships available. For example, we have scholarships for students of Black heritage in particular. Okay, next slide, please. So we are looking to recruit students that have a 2-1. If you're coming from the UK, you would be having a 2-1 degree in biosciences or an equivalent qualification from an overseas university. And biosciences obviously covers biomedical sciences, genetics, immunology, pharmacology, neurosciences, etc. And or it could be somebody coming in with equivalent experience. So you might have been in the pharmaceutical industry for several years. So you might have BSc level expertise and knowledge. So what we're really looking for is people that have got a passion for biosciences, but they've decided that they're not interested in being a scientific researcher. So they're not interested in continuing in the sort of lab and doing lab-based projects, but they really still want to continue working in the biosciences. We're also looking for people that are creative, innovative, and can work effectively in a team as well as obviously independently. We're looking for people that have got a growth mindset, interested in learning essential career skills and furthering your knowledge and expertise in the biosciences. And we really hope we're going to recruit a very diverse group of students onto this course. Next slide, please. Just to say a little bit about the interview process. It will be an online interview. You will be given a paper, bioscience paper beforehand, and asked to prepare a 3-minute presentation as part of that interview. And then there will be a 10-minute Teams interview. And please, if you need any reasonable adjustments for that interview, please reach out to us and ask beforehand. Next slide. So what is our unique selling point? What makes this master's amazing? And I think it's a combination of things. Basically, the course directors, so that's myself and Bert Gaffney, who will be joining the conversation later. We have extensive experience in both designing and delivering MSCs. So we know what a good MSc looks and feels like. We also, you are going to benefit from expertise of a world-class university with some incredible STEM academics. And all of the case studies throughout this course are being designed for you as bioscience students. So they're all bioscience case studies. So we're combining this sort of expertise in teaching and in research and knowledge in the biosciences with the professional expertise from the Imperial Enterprise Department. And this is something really unique. It's something that hasn't been done before. And these people that I will introduce to you in a minute, Vera and Ben, so these people are professionals living and working in terms of innovation and entrepreneurship. And so they have years of combined experience in actually doing this as their jobs. Then, obviously, because we're Imperial, we have some amazing facilities that you will also be able to experience. And these include the Advanced Tax Space and, for example, our Data Science Institute. Next slide. So I just wanted to give you an overview of what the master's program looks like. So it's divided into modules. And if we look in the first term, we have the first 10 weeks, we have modules that are either 8 weeks or 4 weeks at the top, and we have sort of breaks in between and a week at the end for you to finish your assessments. So module 1 is about innovation commercialization. Then we have a module on communication for impact, a module on ideation and entrepreneurship. And that all happens in the first term. Going into the spring term or the second term, we will be looking at developing sustainable and ethical businesses, and also really thinking about bioscience foresight. So what is the future of the biosciences? And finally, and very importantly, we have a very substantive module, which is really about entrepreneurship in practice. And this is when you get in your sort of small groups to develop your ideas into potential startups. Finally, the last part of the course is an opportunity for you to go and have a work placement project. So importantly, these are not research. This is not a lab-based project. And I will talk a little bit more about the options open for that. So I think what we do now is I'm going to introduce you to one of the other people leading part of this master's program, and they're leading as innovation lead. And if we can go on to the next slide. And so this is Vera is with us today, and she is Director of Industrial Partnerships and Commercialization at Imperial. And she just share with you a few words about the types of things she's going to be covering with you during this course.
Thank you, Sarah. So yeah, the idea of the course is to introduce you to the broader concepts of innovation in healthcare, anything from just of opening the sessions around the stakeholders involved, and then taking you on the journey of how ideas are developed, how we protect them, also working on intellectual property. How do we then develop those ideas through research and translation and commercialization? So terms that you will become very familiar with over the several weeks, understanding how science is funded, how we progress from those early ideas into translation, and how do you then generate value from the ideas that are developed in a research setting. So it's giving you the understanding of how you value ideas and intellectual property. How do you then potentially finance it and take it into a company or in a different direction? And then we're also, so we're looking at the sort of the status quo and the best practice at the moment, how we protect and commercialize. But we also, in the latter weeks, we would address some of the new concepts, the value of clinical information and data, the role that data and AI are playing in the value generation in terms of intellectual property and technology, and also something that's come out of post-COVID, which has become a very important topic, is the equity of access to healthcare. So it's kind of a philosophical debate around this. So it will give you the knowledge and the understanding of how you might develop research, but also give you the tools to then think about critically about sort of the future ideas. This is Bioscience Futures, and we are trying to prepare you for the future. So to open some of those conversations and give you the tools to then understand what happens in the following modules. That's all from me, Sarah.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Vera. So, Vera's modules say innovation, commercialization. We've got a very substantive amount of work that we're going to be doing on communication, and we call this communication for impact because it's really important. It's not just about talking to people, etc. It's like, are you actually having an impact? And we're going to look at a whole range of different ways that you would communicate. So this could be creative storytelling and using story building technologies. We will be looking at visualization of big data, how you generate sort of graphical abstracts. So how do you communicate science without text? Use of AI and social media in science communication, communication for science policy, because that is a really interesting sort of career option. How can you sort of change policy around some of these things? And then we'll be looking at some of the interdisciplinary projects done with artists and creatives that allow you to engage with very different audiences about complex, or engaging them in complex scientific debates. And then importantly, the interplay and how you might interplay with the media, so science and the media. So that just gives you a sort of brief overview of some of the areas that we cover in that module. And now I'd like you to introduce you to Ben. And Ben is the Director of Entrepreneurship at Imperial. Again, vast experience in this area. And I'll leave you, Ben, to sort of talk about some of the areas that you're going to be covering.
Brilliant. Thanks, Sarah. Hi, everyone. Great to meet you all. There's a photo of me in case you're kind of wondering who's this guy talking at you. Had slightly more hair then. So this is Bioscience Futures. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And entrepreneurship is all about how we sort of take ideas, we analyze and explore those ideas to assess whether or not that idea is a viable business opportunity. And then fundamentally, how do we take that idea, something that exists in our minds or in our collective imagination, and how do we translate that into something real, viable, sustainable? So that's kind of the work that I and the team do at Imperial. So Director of Entrepreneurship, run something called the Imperial Enterprise Lab. Just put a link in chat to that. In terms of this specific program, so going to be heavily involved in a couple of modules. So the Term 1 module, which is really looking at so where do ideas come from, and like not all ideas are great business opportunities, to kind of look at that in a bit more detail, and fundamentally to kind of think about successful ventures are things that identify and sort of characterize very clear problems, and then are able to develop sort of solutions to those sort of problems. So first semester really just looking at the basics of ideas, opportunities, and then thinking about how do we sort of take an idea and put a very simple business framing around it. Then semester 2, building on that, we effectively, I don't know if you've sort of come across startup accelerator programs, but effectively 6 to 7 weeks where you can really kind of develop a specific idea. So you're literally developing your sort of startup idea within the context of the degree program. So just really sort of interesting, action-based, really practical, thinking about how do you take an idea and how do you start to imagine you've got no experience doing this beforehand, how do you actually start to explore that and bring it to life? And there's a whole series of topics here that we'll go into. And then the fantastic thing, I mean, Imperial is an incredible university. It's an amazing hotspot of innovation, entrepreneurship, creativity. So the Enterprise Lab is an extracurricular support program for innovators and entrepreneurs. So there is a raft of facilities and programs that you can access on an extracurricular basis. So you can kind of come up with an idea on the course, and potentially you can enter that into competitions and get support outside of the MSc program. So it really is, not only is this a brilliant program, but if you are innovative and entrepreneurial, then I genuinely, hand on heart, couldn't imagine a better sort of institution to come and do it at. So with that, I will hand back over to you, Sarah.
Yeah, and I think the other sort of thing you will get is access, obviously, to the advanced hack space, which is very exciting in our White City campus. As Ben says, we've got a whole ecosystem of startups here at Imperial, and lots of sort of students that have won competitions and are sort of building their own enterprises. And so these are people that you get an opportunity to interact with. But also the Enterprise Lab has what they call experts in residence. So these are 100 different experts in a whole range of different areas. And you will have in your spring term, when you're developing your own projects and ideas, you will have opportunity to get the direct advice of some of these really sort of amazing people for free. So that would be brilliant. Okay, so moving on. I wanted now to introduce you to Anne. Anne is co-director of the Masters, and she has a PhD, but importantly for this, she also has a Master's in Education. And so she's really been helping to guide us in terms of designing the Master's course, to give you the sort of really give you the best experience as students. So I'll hand over to Anne and let her tell you what we've got planned.
Thank you, Sarah. Yes, so I'm Anne, and I've got the educational oversight for this fantastic new course. So the way we've designed it is we're building it on this digital platform in Sendy. And for every single session, you will have an introduction online that you just work through easy steps, and then that prepares you to come in for your on-session campus. So that's the structure for every module. Every module will also follow this pattern of being on campus on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and not on campus on the Wednesdays and Fridays. Some of the content for the digital platform will be bespoke material, introduction to the module, or something that you have to read, a short film you have to watch, or a TED talk, or a quiz. So it's quite interactive, and it leads to your on-campus session. Then when you come on campus, you'll work together in your teams and your group, again, really not very much in the way of actual just face-to-face lecturing, but working together, working on activities, and really engaging you in the learning experience. I also then have oversight of making sure that what you're learning aligns with the content and your assessments, all of which are very authentic assessments, what you would be doing in the workplace, and no exams. I think that's important to add. There are no exams in this course at all. Thank you, Sarah. I think that's probably covers all of those aspects.
Brilliant, thanks. Great, and people, yeah, ask more questions at the end. So this is, yes, what we're hoping that you will be able to get out of it in a sort of very succinct way from this master's course. We will, and a lot of people, will come here because they're interested in being entrepreneurs, but equally, you may be interested in other career paths, and this entrepreneurial skill sets will also set you up in really good stead for many other careers. So it's not that you have to be an entrepreneur. It's not that you have to set up a business at the end of this. Okay, so next slide. So Anne just mentioned that we've devised a lot of what we think are authentic and creative assessments, such that we can avoid exams, because we don't think exams really are testing the skill sets that we are trying to help you to sort of hone. And so we have a range of different assessments, and some of these are listed here. So, for example, you might be critically assessing a commercialization strategy, you might be creating a concept map, you might be planning an activity to engage a specific audience of non-scientists in a complex bioscience topic, etc. So a lot of variety in terms of the types of assessment, hopefully meaning that everybody can build on their strengths. Okay, so the work placements are happening in the summer term, and these are obviously a chance for you to get real life experience of working in different environments. So having done the innovation course, if you're interested in commercialization and patenting and partnering with industrial businesses, you might be very much inclined to take a placement in the technology transfer office. Otherwise, if you've got that sort of entrepreneurial gene, you might be thinking about working in a startup, one of the startups of Imperial, or another startup that you have identified and are particularly interested in. Or you may go into something slightly bigger, like a biotech company. You might be doing something related to communications. For example, you could work in the outreach department or work in a societal engagement team. You might be interested in policy, so you could work with the policy team at Imperial, or, for example, with the policy team in one of the learned societies. I think there's a huge scope here to gain really sort of bespoke experience in an environment that you are sort of have identified where you've got a specific interest. And these placement will be assessed with a collated journal and a report and a 10-minute presentation. And just to say, we will encourage you to do reflective practice throughout the masters, because that's a very good habit to get into. Okay, next. Okay, so we're just going to pause here, and if anybody has questions in terms of the course content or style of delivery or anything like that, maybe now is the time to ask us, and then we introduce you to the students, and you can ask them. So chat, I'm looking in the chat.
Sarah, we've got quite a few questions in the Q&A that have come in.
Okay, do you want to? Oh, okay.
So if you click on that and look at the open ones.
Yes, okay. Okay, delighted to be able to write to you in the field, but would love to pursue it. I understand my application is under consideration. Notes to the intro. Would it be difficult for someone who has no prior exposure to the field? So in terms of the application, when you say no prior exposure to the field, I think it would be, I need to know what field you are in. So are you saying in terms of the entrepreneurship field, or are you saying in terms of biosciences? I would strongly recommend people coming onto this course have a background in the biosciences. You don't need expertise in innovation and entrepreneurship in terms of doing the interview. Having said that, we have had people previously come on our masters where they have a law degree or an economics degree, but that's a big commitment to get to BSc level biosciences before they can undertake our masters. Fully funded scholarships from India, I don't think we have that. So I think we have mentioned about the teaching style and assessment through the three terms. So as I said, authentic assessments, lots of different types of assessments, no exams. So with the placements, we will offer some suggestions, and but students can also self-source the placement. But we should if they want something very specific, but we should be able to offer, enough placements for the students. Okay. Are we going to read Introductory Approaches to the Field, Bioscience Futures? I'm not quite sure of that question. I mean, as long as you've got a degree in biosciences, you will be fine on this. We will provide everything else you need on this course. Yeah, so bioscience companies, Imperial has
Sarah, sorry, just to add, the people can't necessarily see the question you're answering, so you might want to just summarize it slightly before you provide your answer.
Okay, so somebody is asking, how much opportunity will there be during the course for students to engage with bioscience companies, visiting lectures, careers fairs at the end? So Imperial does host some careers fairs, although a lot of companies now tend to do those online, we've noticed. But we will have a lot of visiting lecturers and experts and people from business coming in to talk to students. And there is, as I say, sort of quite, Imperial has a lot of partnerships with different bioscience companies. So it's quite, we have people, for example, doing placements in AstraZeneca or other bioscience companies. Any other? Yeah, so somebody is asking about the work placements. Do you apply to companies, departments independently? So as I said, you can, that's up to you. If you can find your own work placement, that's possible. And some of our students actually find work placements in abroad. So you don't necessarily have to stay in London. You might find a work placement in another part of the UK or in another country. It just has to be signed off by agreement with the director. You always will have a supervisor that is based in Imperial that will follow your progress throughout your work placement. I'm not sure. So somebody is asking about prioritization research and incubation. I don't think that relates to this. If you've got somebody here is saying they've got a strong interest in leadership, and I think one of the things that this master's does, it will help you hone all your sort of skill sets, all your career skill sets. So I think if you're interested in leadership, that's something that you would be able to develop. Right. Yeah, we will send you for the interview. Somebody's asking about, do they need to explain the methodology and the science in the paper? They would have to explain that to some extent, especially if the methodology is the novel part of the science paper. If you're thinking about a new biotechnology, you need to explain the background to it and then how you would utilize it. So if you have a look online, each module, so somebody is asking about adding more detail of the prospectus. Online, we have more detail of each module. There will be in the part that the module that Vera teaches, they will be looking at clinical trials. So somebody has asked that about clinical trials and commercialization.
Yeah, so there's a few questions coming out around the sort of the working with bioscience companies, working in this space, the teachers. So Ben and I are both. I'm a scientist that did research and then I stepped out of science. So we both have a sort of a background either in entrepreneurship purely, or in my case both research, but also healthcare innovation. So we're practitioners in the art rather than academics. So we can talk about from personal experience, and a lot of the case studies we'll be teaching will be from Imperial, maybe sort of anonymized, but you'll have opportunity to learn. So in terms of getting involved with the broader ecosystem, there's a lot of opportunity to kind of immerse yourself in the Imperial entrepreneurial ecosystem and learn about the various elements of healthcare innovation and the bits that are interesting to you. So the work we do within Imperial Enterprise, but also more broadly, there's a lot of activities with various clubs. So if you're interested in bioscience futures, innovation, entrepreneurship, the opportunities are quite a few. The question about being a mystery program, are you allowed to discuss a project to potential possible investors and people working in company? I think that's maybe for Ben to answer.
Yeah, thanks, Vera. No, so there are tons of opportunities to kind of get involved in entrepreneurial activities at Imperial. Absolutely right. So if you want to if you want to take an idea, fund it, launch it, then you need to speak to. You need to speak to investors. You need to find funders, and those funders may be investors, they may not be. So the Enterprise Lab, we have the head of investment services. So the whole point of this is for you to come up with ideas to get your MSc, but potentially, the idea that you come up with on the program, you might want to turn into a business. And our mission at the Enterprise Lab is to help you to do that. So we would help you to think about investing readiness. We would connect you with friendly in-house investors. So that's something that really is, I think, one of the advantages of coming to an institution like Imperial. There is a huge amount of extracurricular support. Not only are you getting sort of really focused, rigorous training in the degree program, you're encouraged to take it outside of the MSc program. And we would definitely sort of be really keen to support teams to sort of make the leap from the classroom or the lab into kind of like the market.
And I would add to that, there's an opportunity to actually do an internship with different parts of Imperial Enterprise that we run on our different courses. So if you're interested in the space of where we work, you can get involved with that as well.
Somebody's asking about how many in-course assessments for each module. I think Anne is typing that answer, but I think 2 maximum. I think somebody's asking, are we planning to interview all the applicants, or does that depend on personal statement? We will check. They will be checked internally whether you sort of meet the criteria, and then we will interview people. I think it really depends on numbers of applicants at this stage. This is, as I say, we are only accepting a low number of applicants for this course. So I would advise people to apply sooner rather than later, because it will fill up. All our master's programs do fill up. So please don't leave it till after you get your degree results. For example, it's not going to make a huge difference at this stage. If we have had the experience in the past of students contacting us in the summer to say that they've got a first in their degree and they really want to come on our master's course, but we're already full up. So yeah, please just be aware of that. Okay, so we've answered all the questions about the course. And so what I'd like to do now is to just move on and introduce our students. Now we've got, so I know we've got Sandra who has joined as a participant. So I'm not sure if we can, Sandra, if anybody, if we can open her microphone so she can talk. And I can see that we've got Tamer and Para here to answer questions as well. So Tamer and Para have both been on the Masters in Genes, Drugs and Stem Cells. And so this is another Masters that both Anne and I are involved in teaching, and Vera, indeed. And so, and this is another Masters that is run by NHLI. Sandra has joined Imperial this year to do a Masters in Chemical Engineering. And I think all three of them have got experience of this being the first time of living in London. And so I don't know whether the students wanted to say anything to start off about, just briefly about things that they liked, things that they wish they knew before they came, etc. Or things that maybe the things that they found difficult about living in London. I don't know. Anyway, whatever, I'm going to hand it over now. Para, do you want to say anything to kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So hi, my name is Paris. As Dr. Rankin said, I study in another master's course at Imperial, and I did my bachelor's in the University of Kent in biomedical sciences. And something that I would definitely have in mind moving to London, as this is my first time living here, would be listening a bit more to the Imperial websites about the information they give us, especially in accommodations, because I found out that London is quite bigger than I thought it was going to be. And I decided to live a bit further away from the university than I should have, really, whilst the accommodations that are said in the website of Imperial are much closer and a bit cheaper. So I'll definitely pay more attention in the information that they're given to us through both the general Imperial websites and the course-specific ones. But I have to say, studying at Imperial has been great. It's been challenging, but it's been very interesting learning new stuff. And the teachers here are fantastic. And I'm not just saying that because some of them are here present with us, I promise. But yeah, I don't know if anyone else wants to say anything about their time at Imperial.
Emma?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
great.
perfect. All right, perfect. So hi, I'm Taima. I'm also doing the same master's course as Paris. And right now we're doing the advanced module of our master's. And a little about the course and about the teachers. Honestly, we're getting information and knowledge about a lot of things. It's not just one thing. And I think what's great about this master's course, and I think about the master's course that you're going to do, is that you're going to be educated about different things and not just one thing. And in terms of living in London, I'd say try finding accommodation near your main campus. So if that's going to be White City, try finding it near White City. You should also be cautious about London's cost of living. So yeah, I think Paris pretty much covered it. You're going to enjoy the master's. Teachers are amazing. The campus is amazing. The support we get is absolutely incredible. So yeah.
Okay. And I know Sandra's online as a participant, so I'm not sure if she can actually say anything. Helen might be able to tell me.
I'm not sure. I'll see if I can be able to unmute Sandra, I think. She's done it herself.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Hi, sorry, I must have clicked on the wrong link. But hi, my name is Sandra, and I study in the chemical engineering department with the Institute of Molecular Science and Engineering, so IMSI, and I study molecular engineering. So I started in October, and like the other student said, I think that engaging with the online resources that Imperial give you just before you start is really, really good. There are a lot of services available at Imperial. There are a lot of like avenues of support, but they do have quite strict deadlines, especially if you want like funding or if you need help with accommodation. For example, if you have a neurodivergence or a disability that you want to disclose. These are things that it's best you start putting in the framework for it. Even if you don't end up applying, it's best you start talking to people and seeing how the process works before you apply and before you, well, way before you start your degree, because that was one of the problems I had. And a lot of people on roll at the same time. So then that causes delays, and then it makes it really, really difficult. When if you do it before September, it's quite quick and easy, and nobody is waiting for these responses, so you can get a really good response time. I've lived in London for most of my life, but I haven't lived here and studied, so it's quite different being like someone who lives in London just generally and then living to study. I think that definitely utilize Imperial as a space, like as a study space, as a networking space, as a place that has more than one opportunity for you. That's the best advice that I think I could give. There are so many things that go on, like careers events. There are lots of avenues of support that are available online and on campus. So definitely make it a point to be on campus as much as you can to just see what's out there. Even fun things like there's a cinema here that I had no idea about. There are lots of like live music things going on campus that you don't really know unless you're actually on campus and you see the flyers. So definitely try to be on campus as much as you can be, because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on that will enrich you like outside of your degree. And with teaching, I would say that teaching is very, very like, it's very good here. But I would say that if there is anything that you find difficult or you're struggling with, definitely try to make time to see your lecturer and don't kind of let it build up, because they're here to help, but they are quite busy people as well. So because of the world-class nature of this university, everybody has so many things that they're doing at the same time. So I would say definitely try to, if there is anything that you would like to change or you would like to see be implemented, try and get that communicated across to your lecturers as soon as possible, whether it be an email or quickly after lecture, just so that they know and so that you don't suffer in silence, because it can be quite fast moving. And I think that's all my points.
Thank you so much. Great. So thank you so much. I think we now have some questions. Oops. Okay, so there's one, how many days a week are the lectures, seminar, workshop sessions in each module each term? And Anne is typing the answer to that, but basically we are on campus. You will be on campus for 3 days a week, and then off campus doing your own sort of working on your own or in groups for 2 days a week. So you only be required to come on campus 3 days.
We also had some questions come through in advance of the event tonight, Sarah. Shall I just read those out and anyone can provide some input on those? We had one from somebody who's considering this degree as an alternative to research masters. They're finishing their biochem at the moment, and they wondered if we could talk a bit about the how it improved their career prospects having completed this master's, kind of what it might lead on to.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously this is the first year, so we don't have data to tell you where students end up. But we would suggest that these students, I mean, obviously one avenue is that they become entrepreneurs, but we suspect that will be only a small group of students. And actually others will sort of apply the skill sets and everything that they've learned in other areas. So they might, as I say, end up in a tech transfer office. They might end up in working in communication in some way. So that might be in a press office, in a learned society, outreach, societal engagement, lots of opportunities. Policy, I think, is a really interesting one that a lot of people haven't really come across or thought about during their undergraduate studies. So we're going to have a very sort of strong introduction to that as well. So I think it really opens up, you allow, hopefully at the end of this, you will be able to make a really good informed decision about what type of career you want to go into. And you will have a skill set plus an MSc from Imperial, which will really sort of open doors and allow you to transition into whatever career you wish to.
Thanks, Sarah. We had another question with regards basically in terms of networking and I guess getting your ideas out there. Like when you're on the course and you're working on your project, is it allowed to go on and discuss your project with potential investors and collaborators whilst you're on the course?
Yeah, I think Ben covered that one. And we sort of expect that may happen. I think it, there has to be an agreement, obviously, with other people in your group that you might be developing those ideas with. So that's one of the caveats. But yes, loads of networking opportunities. There are, lots of different, I think Imperial has got more clubs and societies than any other university in the UK, but we run, for example, the Enterprise Lab itself runs a lot of networking activities and a lot of events where you get the opportunity to network with other students, but also both the academics and external experts. I think if you want to get an idea, one thing is worth doing is look on the Imperial events pages, and you will see just the number of different events and activities going on every day at Imperial. And obviously, if you're here, you can go to any of those events. I mean, we have the most incredible speakers coming in talking about all different things, science, but also policy. Tonight, actually, we have policy lates we're hosting at Imperial. And then we have societal engagement activities. We have a big Imperial festival, which you can also get involved in. So there are almost unlimited possibilities. And if you have got very, specific interests, it's just a matter of reaching out to us, and we will sort of identify the network or the group or how we can sort of help you get those opportunities while you're at Imperial.
Super, thank you. We had a few questions about funding and scholarships, but I think that's been touched on, and I've also put some links in the chat, so please do take a look at those to see the scholarships available for this course. The only other thing that was touched upon was disability and health support in the questions. So again, I'll put something in the chat now with the general college information and guidance on that for people, but I don't know if anyone wanted to speak about the support that's offered by college. I mean,
in terms of disability, we have a good disability service. As Sandra mentioned, if you know that you are wanting, for example, reasonable adjustments, or if you are wanting to get a diagnosis for anything, then try and do it ahead of time. You can apply for these things once you've got your offer, And so it's worth trying to do that ahead of time to get yourself on at the front of the queue. And one of the things that Imperial does that is different to other universities is that we don't get students to apply for a disability allowance. We actually just pay everything for the students that they would normally get through that disability allowance. We decided actually to invest the money. The other thing that we did as a college, we invested £250,000 in software that it is called inclusive software, and this includes things like speech to text software and for example mind mapping software, organization software, etc., etc. We have an audio note taker software. So there is a lot available for students, and as I say, it's just, please reach out to us, because we do want to, we endeavour to be inclusive. So yes.
Thanks. That's all the ones we had ahead of time, Sarah.
Okay, brilliant. Well, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you in September. But yeah, as I say, please, if you are considering, then I would suggest putting in applications sooner rather than later, because we know that all our courses fill up, and this course does not have that many places on it this year. Okay, so but thank you so much. Yes, have a look at the web pages if you need more details. Hope the session has given you a sort of overview of what this master's programme is going to be all about.
Thanks, everyone. See you in September.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.